Welcome. I'm Lee Cowan, and this is Here Comes the Sun, a closer look at some of the people, places, and things we bring you every weekend on Sunday morning. American architect Jeanne Gang is responsible for imaginative buildings all across the country, including a recent addition to New York City's iconic American Museum of Natural History. Martha Teichner caught up with Gang to discuss her career and her inspirations.
At 59, Jeanne Gang heads her own firm, Studio Gang, headquartered in Chicago. Innovating, pushing the boundaries of the good that architecture can do is what Studio Gang is all about.
How can we learn to live lighter on the planet, have better relationships with those around us, create stronger communities? It's animal architecture.
Nature and the environment are central to every aspect of Jeanne Gang's work.
It's not just the romantic idea of nature, but the structures.
Later in the show, Jeanne Gang on her inspiration for the museum expansion.
Where did you get the idea for something that looks like you're in a cave?
Whenever I start a project, I'm thinking about what do we need to feel when we walk inside. And in this particular project, you know, because there is this kind of crisis of science education right now and a need to get more students and adults even interested in science and nature. I thought it would be great to feel like you're exploring a landscape, a geologic landscape.
Then from Jeanne Gang's grand designs, we head about 20 blocks away to bask in architect Peter Marino's stunning renovation of Tiffany's flagship store in Midtown Manhattan. Kelefa Sanneh got a tour.
Peter Marino helped design private rooms high above street level. The building has 10 floors, organized by theme, like home design on 6, silver on 5, gold on 4.
The constellation was done in a window display, and we reproduced it on a gigundous scale.
Gigundous, is this an architectural word?
Yes, you have to go to 8 years of architecture school to talk like that.
That's all coming up right here on Here Comes the Sun. Jeanne Gang broke the mold of the so-called boys' club of American architects, creating museums, parks, and high-rises, including the St. Regis Tower, the tallest structure in the U.S. designed by a woman. But as she tells it, being a trailblazing female architect is the least interesting thing about her work. Here's Martha Teichner.
A ribbon cutting. Music. And then instant awe when the American Museum of Natural History in New York City opened the doors to its new 230,000 square foot, nearly $500 million expansion.
We're absolutely stunned. It's so beautiful.
No more right angles.
The standard reaction? Stop, look up, and start taking pictures of this extraordinary space that seems eroded from rock by wind and water over millennia, not just built.
I don't know what it is exactly, but it seems very cool.
Architect Jeanne Gang designed it.
It's like being underneath a tree or a mushroom.
As construction was finishing up, Gang took us on a hard hat tour.
Before the concrete was here, it was cages of rebar. And then the concrete is sprayed into those,
But where did these shapes even come from?
We studied literally flow, like melting ice and other interactions to get the patterns that you can find in nature. We can kind of play with it.
Here she is on the roof of her Chicago office.
And look at this. Look at the variety of, so it started to give us ideas that are more accidental and kind of natural and incredible.
Jeanne Gang's curvy 82-story Aqua Tower in Chicago was the tallest building in the world designed by a woman, until another of her buildings, the 101-story St. Regis Tower down the block, took the title. meaning Gang had broken into the boys' club of architectural titans whose skyscrapers define the city's storied skyline. She is arguably the most important woman architect anywhere, but the designation makes her cringe.
I see it as it's a necessary conversation, but it also reduces the amount of time that women architects get to talk about how do you think about the city of the future? How do you think about materials? We can take the roof off.
Raised in Belvedere, Illinois, near the Wisconsin border. At 59, Jeanne Gang heads her own firm, Studio Gang, headquartered in Chicago. Innovating, pushing the boundaries of the good that architecture can do, is what Studio Gang is all about.
How can we learn to live lighter on the planet, have better relationships with those around us, create stronger communities? It's animal architecture.
Nature and the environment are central to every aspect of Jeanne Gang's work.
It's not just the romantic idea of nature, but the structures, the intelligence that is in the response to climate, the beauty that is there as well, and the pattern that always is for a reason.
Among Jeanne Gang's many accolades, a so-called MacArthur Genius Grant. In 2019, she was named to Time magazine's 100 Most Influential People list, and she's a professor at Harvard's Graduate School of Design. It's like a treehouse.
Yeah, it gives you that experience, being up in the canopy.
She's got bragging rights, so you'd think she'd want to show off her statement skyscrapers. No.
The aim of this was to be the most intimate theater around.
Instead, she took us to the tiny Writers' Theater in the Chicago suburb of Glencoe.
Glencoe didn't have a civic space, and we thought that this lobby could double as that.
But how to turn a desolate stretch of the Chicago River into a civic space?
I was told that you could smell the river with industrial smell, chemicals, and waste.
Yeah.
The boathouse Gang designed for the Chicago Parks Department made it a destination.
I just feel kind of proud because I know that this boathouse was essential for a transformation along the whole river. It's pretty exciting.
So is the new $2.2 billion terminal at Chicago's O'Hare Airport she's working on. Its interior constructed from wood staves, and a complete makeover of the waterfront in Memphis.
Is this fun?
Yeah.
She's just finished a major rethink and expansion of the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts in Little Rock.
This is a kind of stem through the building, or a blossoming out into the park.
Again, Jeanne Gang with an architectural flourish, demonstrating how a changed space can result in a changed experience, something new. Just as she did in Chicago's Lincoln Park.
We put together a team to redo the whole environment so that it could support nature.
Deeper pond, new boardwalk, different plantings, and this. Yes, it was inspired by a milkweed pod.
It has a magical effect. It's how it makes us feel around the natural environment and the city. It's all those things together.
When it was built in 2010, the pavilion was supposed to be temporary. Now it's an icon, and the expression of everything Jeanne Gang hopes architecture can achieve.
You could do a beautiful sculptural building. If it doesn't help people connect to each other or connect to their community, then it's not going to work. The beauty is in making it inspiring so people want to come back.
Up next, an exclusive excerpt from Martha Teichner's chat with Jeanne Gang, something you can only see right here on CBS News Streaming. Stay with us.
I always see buildings as they're almost alive to me. People inhabit them, and they set up our relationships to each other and to the environment around. So I think of it as almost alive.
As promised, here's more from Jeanne Gang.
I have never seen a museum that looked like I'm inside a beehive or an anthill or something. What's this supposed to be?
This is the Gilder Center for Science, Education, and Innovation, and it's really, we're inside of a structure that looks organic, but it's actually doing the work of holding up the building around it. So this is almost like a cave or a canyon that actually holds up the building. So, and we're inside of it.
So this isn't just for the visual pleasure of the person who comes to the museum.
Well, that too, hopefully, but the project is really about kind of finding a place to land this building, because it could only land on certain columns, but then creating a space that would also, it really starts from the inside, coming in to a space that lets you see where you want to go and explore, what interests you, kind of get your curiosity going. And so it turned out that we could make this structure almost like by hollowing it out, almost like a natural system of water, wind, time. And then it holds the building, but you can explore it like in a natural landscape.
Where did you get the idea for something that looks like you're in a cave?
Whenever I start a project, I'm thinking about what do we need to feel when we walk inside. And in this particular project, because there is this kind of crisis of science education right now, and a need to get more students and adults even interested in science and nature, I thought it would be great to feel like you're exploring a landscape, a geologic landscape. And that kind of feeling always makes me curious, and really allowed us to have these openings where you can see all the different things that the museum has to offer.
What was your mandate from the museum? I mean, you have a place where there are existing structures all over the place on this campus. What did the museum say they wanted from you?
The museum really wanted a place that would help them to complete their mission, which is about education, research with their existing collections, and innovation. So it's different than some of the other parts of the museum that are very focused on one thing. This is really bringing it all together. So we wanted to expose the vast collections that they have that are used in research, have classrooms, have interactive places where people can see their collections that have never been seen in the public before, like their insects, the butterfly vivarium, so people can experience nature and different. So it's kind of like bringing all those things together with classrooms, with education spaces, and spaces where people can just talk about what they've seen.
You talk about flow, and in the big Studio Gang book that I have at home, flow is a big factor in what you describe about it. When you talk about flow, what kind of flow are you talking about? Are you talking about people flow? Are you talking about the flow of swirly designs, or what?
Well, for me, flow it's physics. Flow is like a physics subject. It's about people and it's about air. So even like the shape of this space is very purposeful to take the warm air up high into the space. So it has an environmental role as well. And then flow in the materiality, the concrete itself is fluid when you start with it, and then it hardens. So I see flow is interesting in a physics sense, but it affects almost everything in the living world.
Normally, when you hear people talk about a building, you don't hear about that.
Yeah, I always see buildings as they're almost alive to me. People inhabit them, and they set up our relationships to each other and to the environment around. So I think of it as almost alive.
These swirls, they almost seem like smoke rings.
To get these forms, we studied literally flow, like melting ice and other physics interactions to get the patterns that you can find in nature and try to bring them to the architecture.
So before you ever designed anything for this space, you studied these properties of flow.
Yes, the properties, exactly. And how with people, it's interesting because we follow something interesting. We go to the light, or we want to take a certain path. So there's environmental clues that are pulling us to different directions, you know, and so that's a really important part of a museum. And then the physics of the materiality of flow, we were just really wanted to get to the bottom of why these landscapes make us so curious and want to explore, and that really had a resonance with the program here.
What were your conclusions?
Well, when I see people's face when they come inside, they really look up and they look all around, and I think that's my first clue that it's working. But honestly, we didn't know where this experiment was going. We were trying to stay true to that idea, and the museum was very encouraging about this aspect, working together with them, because it's pretty radical as a space.
You've taken the birds into consideration in a lot of your buildings, right?
Yes, I discovered very early on by working with ornithologists, there was a big problem with birds and glass in cities, and so it's a very interesting problem to solve because it involves like the way birds see, which is different than humans, and just the transparency of glass and the proliferation of glass in our cities. So there's many different ways to kind of reduce that risk, but making the glass more visible is one of them.
Up next, a jewel of a building. Welcome back. It's been more than 60 years since Audrey Hepburn had breakfast there. Yet the Tiffany flagship store in New York City hasn't lost its appeal. Now newly renovated, the 10-story building is once again welcoming shoppers and fans. Kelefa Sanneh got an inside look.
Don't you just love it?
Love what?
Tiffany's.
I was brought in to regenerate and recreate a cheerful, holly-golightly atmosphere, not a stern, intimidating one.
Tiffany & Company's flagship headquarters in New York reopened after undergoing a nearly 4-year renovation led by legendary architect Peter Marino.
Used to be dark wood, and now it's white marble.
I'm seeing Tiffany blue all around the place.
Tiffany blue, which is a registered color, this kind of turquoisey blue, which is wonderful.
The main floor's big design attraction is 14 video screens, each 19 feet tall.
It's meant to be amusing and beautiful.
With these images in the windows, you do something that most people can't do, which is you control the weather.
Yes, we do.
How do you want someone to feel when they walk into the new Tiffany's for the first time?
Dazzled.
Alexandre Arnault is the 31-year-old executive vice president and the son of the richest man on the planet, Bernard Arnault, who's the founder and CEO of the world's largest luxury goods brand. LVMH bought Tiffany & Company in 2021 for about $16 billion.
Isn't it wonderful?
Alexandre Arnault was born more than 30 years after Tiffany's most famous customer walked in.
Do you have anything for $10?
Still, some things at Tiffany haven't changed.
The variety of merchandise is rather limited.
To be fair, $10 in 1961 is about $101 now. Do you have anything for $101?
We don't have jewelry for $101. You can buy perhaps perfume.
Tiffany president and CEO Anthony Ledru says the building, though remodeled, remains the bedrock of the company.
We're here at the epicenter of the island, Manhattan, splitting east and west, north and south.
And it hadn't been renovated since opening in 1940.
I think there was really a responsibility to protect what made the identity of this landmark for 83 years.
This is an exceptional necklace.
Victoria Worth Reynolds is Tiffany's chief gemologist.
Like that.
The famed Tiffany Diamond, discovered in 1877, made a cameo in the 1961 film.
And you have this here behind some layers of glass. People can line up to look at it as if it were the Mona Lisa.
Yes, it is our Mona Lisa, absolutely. And it has just been reset for the first time in 12 years.
The Tiffany Diamond is not for sale.
So what do we have in here?
But just about everything else is.
This is what love is all about. This is an exceptional 10-carat, D internally flawless, type 2A diamond. This is a Tiffany Diamond at its finest.
Now, just roughly speaking, what are we talking about here? New sports car, second home?
We're in all of the above. This is a ring that you would dream about.
For just such occasions, Peter Marino helped design private rooms high above street level. The building has 10 floors, organized by theme, like home design on 6, silver on 5, gold on 4.
The constellation was done in a window display, and we reproduced it on a gigundous scale.
Gigundous, is this an architectural word?
Yes, you have to go to 8 years of architecture school to talk like that.
Finally, there's a penthouse, for times when a private room just isn't private enough.
We're up here on the 10th floor, the Sanctum Sanctorum.
What we call the VVIP, by invitation only.
Up here, you can almost forget that this is a jewelry store. Almost.
You should be relaxed, enjoy yourself, and spend a great deal of time.
Spend a great deal of something else, too, perhaps.
Hopefully.
I'm Lee Cowan. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here next time on Here Comes the Sun.